Hello, welcome to Lord Havoc's Marvel Champions Custom Content Extravaganza. I have another creator spotlight for you today. I'm speaking to the self-titled CEO of the homebrew community. I thought they were the one in charge, but they're the CEO of the homebrew Discord, and just a vital part of the community. The community can't run without them. I stick to that. It's true. I'm telling you, an amazing person and creator, and it is the one and only Karmi. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. I finally got you. Karmi's one of the first
Yeah, I've been
people I reached
dodging
out
you.
to. I reached out to you. I think you were like the second person I reached out to after ES, and because ES was of course first, and just trying to get hold of you. You're a busy person, not just with the community, but with like personal life and stuff. So, thank you for taking the time. It's great.
Hey, no
I
problem.
also
I'm happy
really
to.
appreciate the comment. Where do you want me to lie down so you can paint me, Jack?
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
it felt like it was going to be that kind of intimacy, so I
it,
figured, you know,
it might be. I'll try not to. I'll try not to fanboy too much. It's I just have just the utmost respect for what you do and just you as a person. You've been incredibly helpful to me personally. Mary Marvel would not be in the place that she is without your assistance, and she's probably my favorite character that I've ever made. And just what you do for the community, for the Discord, your calm, assuring presence, it amazes me every time I speak to you. So thank you. It's an important part. It's important for me for you to be a part of this series.
well, I mean, thank you for saying that, but I feel like you're definitely overstating it because I think I'm the fanboy. I
Mm.
mean, uh, you said CEO. I know we were talking about that, trying to uh, kind of clear up the structure a little bit because I
Yeah.
get it. It is a little murky if you haven't had that conversation. But uh, the way I see it, I'm more like just the number one fan in the Discord, and I just love uh, what the community does and how they do it to the degree that I just want to do what I can to try to help make it as awesome as it can be and as accessible as it can be because it's a great place full of great people and I want as many people to experience that as they can in as good a way as they can.
Mm. Well said. Well said, sir. I agree. Let's talk about some stuff. You've got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about.
Sure.
But before I do, is there anything you want to say about sort of introduce yourself? Anything about other than what we just said? Anything extra?
uh I mean, I'm not. I just, I. You say I'm busy in my personal life, and that's true
U.S.
to a degree. But compared to a lot of people, I have uh, a lot of flexibility, which is part of why I'm able to do some of the things in the Discord I do, just because I live in Tennessee in the USA, so
Nice.
my time zone lines up with a lot of people. But
Mm.
when you're trying to set up a spotlight like this with you, it can be a little bit of a hurdle for
Yeah.
some of our mini members that are overseas. Uh, so, but it's a pretty convenient time zone for a lot of things. But I other than that, I just I work at a pizza place. I don't have a fancy schmancy job like a lot of people that takes a lot of their time. So, um, yeah, that's
Cool.
pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah. As soon as I saw you online, I like reached out. I was like, "Kami, come on, man." And you were like, all right, we'll do it. And I was like, let's do it right now. Like it's 8:52 a.m. here for me. So
It's the blood in the water. Let's go.
it's like you revealed that you were online. So let's do it. All right, let's talk about some stuff. Basically, what got you into Marvel Champions custom stuff?
Oh, their custom stuff. It This is kind of a weird one for me compared to everyone else that I've heard. In that, I've always enjoyed building custom games, but I've never built anything for an existing game. I've only created my own original games previously.
Cool.
And so um, I had enjoyed Marvel Champions a ton, and it was kind of like the go-to game. One of the few games I was still being able to play in person somewhat regularly. But getting into the customs really became a thing because when I started doing it, I was working so much. Because at the time, it was still during COVID, and I wound up being the only employee at my restaurant for a while.
Wow.
And so,
Jeez.
yeah, but I would wind up with some downtime periodically, and I couldn't really go anywhere or do it. So I couldn't play, but I would read about it, and I ran out of stuff to read, and so I had a notebook, and to like kill time, I would just make up new cards. And I hadn't even found the community yet. I was just
Right.
scribbling these things down to pass my time and entertain myself. And then eventually I found the community, and I waded in, and it was awful at first. Thankfully, ES kind of stepped in and threw himself on the sword and kind of helped steady me a little bit. And he even put together my first tabletop mod for me before I even really understood what it was.
Cool.
And because I thought I'm just gonna basically put Word documents on here, and people are gonna see it and go, "Oh yeah, this is what we all do. Yeah, we just write stuff on cardboard and play with it and test it because that's what I did."
Right.
And then I quickly found out, oh no,
No.
oh no, that is not what happens here. And then put the foot on the gas from there, and it was definitely a learning experience because there are a lot of talented people here that are far and away better at this than I ever thought about being.
Oh, I don't know if that's true. You're very good, but I hear quite often in these spotlights is that the ES is the one that sort of reached out and got things going and helped people out and stuff, and it's definitely true for me as well. ES is an absolute champion. Okay, so once you got, so let's step back for a second though. You create your own games. Have you got any games that you've actually published?
Published, no. I had one that I'm not going to say it was on the verge of publishing. I at least had a conversation with someone about it, and what it came down to was the guy I spoke to is basically like, normally I would be very interested in this type of thing, but the company has decided they put out a mandate that they were not going to expand the IP into any other type of products at that time.
Right.
Which I guess I thought it was kind of a weird. Right. I'll just say it was Mass Effect.
Right.
And it was kind of like just before Andromeda, and I don't know, maybe it was just kind of a weird time in the IP, but so no, I've never had any published, but I mostly have made more like fast-paced tabletop games. And when I say fast-paced, I mean compared to like Warhammer 40K.
Right.
It's faster than that. That doesn't mean you're going to sit down and play in 20 minutes. But,
right.
Yeah. So I mostly integrated like miniature games and card games. I did kind of hybrids. So,
dude, so did I. I've got two of those. Oh man,
nice.
We've got to talk more. We've got to talk more. I want to see your stuff, and I want to show you my stuff. Show me yours, and I'll show you mine.
I know we're friends, but like you gotta buy me dinner.
I'm a married man. I'll have to speak to my no, that is so cool, man. And the Mass Effect, there actually is a Mass Effect game now. So did they have any of your ideas? Are you like, wait a minute, that's mine. What's going on?
I'm unaware of it, honestly. So
go check it out.
I'll have to look and see.
Go look it up. If they've stolen some of your ideas, then, oh man, that is amazing. Yeah, we've got to talk more.
Got it.
Cool. All right. What's out of all of your creations? And there's a lot. I want to go through. I just want to go through a couple. We can't go through all of them, but I just want to go through some of them. What I absolutely love on this bit here, I've got because I'm showing your TTS mod. You got Black Knight, Sentry, Shatterstar, and Sage, and they come with these awesome, just awesome like description things, the overview. Where did you come up with the idea for that, and why do we not all do it? What's going on?
That's funny you mentioned that because in the server revamp, it's not necessarily a completely abandoned idea. It's just one we didn't finish fleshing out. But we had a conversation in the server about coming up with a standardized version and trying to make them more widely, not like a requirement, but just like a strong suggestion of, hey, here's a thing that if we all used it more would probably be more helpful to newer people trying to decide what's best for them to start with, because I still remember we sat down to play one night and I had just bought the official Hulk. So we sat down to play and I had bought several characters and we were playing the new ones and we had invited a new friend in that we were trying to indoctrinate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gave them Hulk because we figured Hulk should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Smash some things, have some fun.
Gotcha.
It'll be a good time. And it was awful, and it was bad, and we had no clue how awful Hulk was yet.
Right.
And so they never wanted to play again. And I was like, I don't want that to happen. So I was like, if you had a more clear idea of what you were sitting down to play, it might help avert that for some people. So I don't remember where the idea first came from other than just video games.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like is trying to take concepts from different platforms and different forms of media and adapting them in ways that suit each other.
Yep.
And you see this kind of thing in a lot of games where you're comparing stats of racers or fighters or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, that's always like a quick reference you can kind of count on in those games that might work here. So,
And is there a standardized way of making them? Like, is there rules around them? Like, how do you know offense is 3 out of instead of 5 and so on?
no, that's not. That was just. Those are basically subjective, where I have polled people who played them significantly and been like, "Hey, here's kind of where I set it. How do you see it?"
Okay.
And just kind of eyeballed it basically. But that's what we were talking about in the server, was trying to find a better way to make that a little more standardized.
The only other creator I know that does a similar thing is Design Hacker, which is very helpful. But this is a cool idea. I really love it.
Thanks. Yeah, I used to have a lot more of them, and I deleted them.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It's like, why does nobody else have one? I'll tell you someone who does need one is Bloodshot. Bloodshot scares the hell out of me. When you first introduced Bloodshot to the server, I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I love the character. I'm so glad Valiant's getting some love. They're a great company. And I was just like, yeah, I've got to play this guy. And then I pulled him out. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I just can't play this. I'm not good enough to play this character. So, yeah. Any tips, like a tip thing, like a how to play thing for Bloodshot? I need it.
Well, for Bloodshot, so man, I have a lot of pitfalls as a creator, and
Okay.
one of the things I get dinged on a lot is making things not just too complex, but more complex than I intended. Like I think I'm making something very straightforward, and it turns out it's not that way. But I try to design things that kind of ask you to build them differently, build your deck differently than you otherwise would.
Yep.
And so if you sit down to play them thinking you're going to play them like another hero, a lot of times that's not going to work well. So Bloodshot's one of those. So the very first thing with him is bring 50 cards.
Yeah.
Do not trim down to 40 cards. Bring 50 cards.
Because his cards
period.
are his hit points, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty glaringly obvious to most people. If they've, not everybody reads through every card before they sit down to play, but if
No.
you do that, I think most people pick up on that. But there are some other components, and I've watched people play him for the first time, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've got plenty of deck left," and so they'll run themselves down early to where they don't have many cards left in the deck, and then they get to where they feel trapped.
Yep.
And because it can be difficult to regain a lot of hit points at once until you've kind of set some other things up. And so taking the care to try to do that a little bit throughout the game when you have the opportunity, even if you don't feel like you need to, is kind of, I guess, what I would say is one of the key points for him.
Yeah.
Because the other benefit of that is he gives you some opportunities to cycle some cards, and so you can kind of use that to your advantage too. You're not just getting hit points back; you are kind of restacking your deck to an extent in ways that can help you.
I don't know if I'd agree with you have plenty of pitfalls as a creator, but that's for you to say. I mean, who am I to say? But I have one thing I noticed that I think you do really well is what you just touched on, is you can't just bring your generic deck that you sort of swap out with every hero. Like, it's quite often players will just have like I've got a protection deck, I've got a justice deck, and so on and so forth. And doesn't matter what hero I use, I just basically use those sort of decks. There are some heroes that you can't really do that, but most of the time you can. And I fall into that trap. I'm one of those people. And you just can't do that with your creations. I've done it. I've made that mistake 3 times now. I don't know why I keep making the same mistake.
But a wise person would realize that about themselves, and maybe, I don't know, put a precon or two in the deck. And I have not done that.
Please do some precons. You recently just started an initiative. We're actually going to start working on precons together as a group, which is great. How's that going? I want to join that, but the time zones are just awful. Every time you're on, I'm not on. It
hasn't worked out much yet. It's because it's very new.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of decks now for Sentry at least, which I hope will help him a little bit. But
please, yeah, I want to be part of that initiative. And back to what you just said. Yes, I'm obviously not a wise person because I keep making the same mistake. I played your Sentry, and it was just a disaster. It's an absolute disaster, and it really was. I stand by this. It wasn't because Sentry himself was bad. It was because I just grabbed a generic justice deck, and it just didn't work. And I just made some terrible deck building decisions. So precons.
I still blame myself for not giving the tools to help you. Plus, I do still need to make one more change because I initially started changing his nemesis because they changed the rules, and so I had to adjust some wording within Sentry to make it work correctly.
Right.
Because they narrowed the focus of the word find.
Yes.
And so I had to make some adjustments. And in the process, I was like, okay, I can fine tune this a little bit while I'm at it since I'm having to change some of this anyway. And I inadvertently made him scarier than he already was.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
So I need to tone him back a little bit. I just haven't decided exactly how I want to do that.
He's already scary enough. Don't make him any more scary. Another highlight for me is Wildcat, because I was there when Wildcat was born. we were playing a game, and you were like, "I've got an idea for a character," and it just went from there. And then I was there for when you play tested him, and he's awesome. I love him. So I'm part of it. I've contributed. It's very cool.
I like it too.
So what would be, I know this is going to be hard, I mean you got a lot, but what would be your favorite creation of your own?
Ooh, let's see. This will tell you a little bit about how I function internally, but for me it's more like which one do I currently hate the least? Because I really have something I want to fix or
You're a
refine about
perfectionist,
all of them, and
right?
it's trying to figure out which one. So I guess I'm gonna say weirdly, even though I'm not much of a DC guy, I'm really happy. I really like with all of the four DC characters I have because
Yep.
I think I have some wording and things that need fixing in Amethyst, but I think I'm going to leave her that way because I'm kind of using it as a example hero for some of the uh, type of wording stuff to look for to fix.
Okay.
But the other three especially. They're about as refined as they're going to get, and I don't expect to make any more changes. And I'm really happy with a lot of the way they are. So
Cool.
I'm just going to say collectively,
Yep.
they make me happy in that way.
Wow.
Because even the Marvel ones up here,
Yep.
um, Black Knight, I got a lot of help on the art from Noob Song, who's not on the server much anymore. Unfortunately, they're just too busy with life and things.
Yeah.
Um, but I've received a lot of help from a lot of people with everything I've made. But he and I collaborated a lot on that, so I'm always gonna love it. But Sage, I you know I've got a lot of things I want to fix with it. The text is too long. There's too much art. Shatterstar, I still need to. Now that I've gone back and looked at him, I'm like, man, I just really need to simplify and smooth out some of these things. So like, even these, I'm not fully content with, but DC, they're pretty good to go. Somehow, it just worked out that way. So
Wow. Okay. Cool. So you had like a clear vision. So it's like you knew you were gone. Are you going to go back to the beta stuff at some point?
yeah, most of the beta stuff I refine periodically, and as I'm going and adding things back into the hero section of the content library, I'm trying to pick a hero at a time and
Yeah.
repolish them as I do that. So it's kind of helping focus me. But like Morbius is probably one of the cleanest heroes I have. I just have never made a nemesis for him, and that's
Oh,
the
okay.
only reason he's still sitting
So
there.
it's still technically
Quake
beta.
is
Yep.
Yeah, Quake is probably one of my favorites just because I haven't worked as much to make sure she's balanced. But she was made by request,
Right.
or I'm sure you've seen Diamond in the server. He's
Yes.
another great community member that does a ton to help people with printing and
Yes.
other things.
Yes.
And his daughter just really loves Quake, and there weren't a lot of Quake options. So, and I've always liked the character. I always wanted to do it. So as soon as he brought it up, I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. And that's just been the most rewarding one because I know someone has been playing it and enjoying it.
Well, that's actually that touches on something else. So I recently spoke to Bubblegum, real name redacted, and they mentioned the Loki God of Stories was actually a result of a conversation that you guys had. So
Yeah.
Loki God of Stories is your latest release. He looks amazing. I actually can't stand Loki as a character. This is the only Loki I've actually ever been interested in because I just think that the mechanic it just looks really cool. Where did you come up with the sort of the story idea for Loki? I'm going to grab some Loki cards out. Let's have a look.
So the thing with Loki is, uh, I, I've always liked the character. He's never been one of my favorites or anything, but uh, when I read about the evolution of Loki, God of Mischief, into this version of Loki, God of Stories in the comics,
Mm.
I just really loved that arc that he went through, and it's something that uh, I a well done, uh, I guess, revitalization or evolution of a character
Mm-hmm.
is really what most really good storytelling is about. And it's something that kind of gets lost in comics, I think, sometimes. Like, there are really good ones throughout comics history that happen, and sometimes they kind of stick.
Yep.
or you get a new version of the character, and then Hal Jordan becomes the most popular version of Green Lantern, even if he's not the original, or Barry Allen as the Flash or whatever.
Yep.
But you know, uh, if you give any character in comics long enough, they're gonna become a villain or become a hero or whatever. You do everything you can with every character at some point,
Yep.
and it can kind of get exhausting.
Hmm.
But those ones that really stand out and really try to stick, to me, this is one of the best ones I've seen in a while, and I really loved just the thematic aspect of it. So when I looked at it, he's the god of stories. I was like, man, I really love literature. My mother was an English teacher. Like, this could be a cool way to try to, embody that part of him, even if it's, they're not all necessarily Loki powers, but you just lean into the the elements of literature for the components.
Absolutely
So
love
I really really enjoyed putting it together.
it. Knowing me as well as you do, will I be able to play him? Because I want to.
I will make you a deck, and
Yes.
I think I will say that I've been very cognizant in my last few designs of trying to go simpler routes with things
Cool.
and streamline less busy cards. And I specifically just with Loki, I said, this is Loki. He's a complex guy. I'm just going to embrace it, and I'm just going to go with it.
Mm.
I had been trying to hold myself back, and I'm just letting it out with this guy. So he's he's a little complex, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. You can just kind of pick the part you want to focus on and go with it.
Cool. Good.
But yeah, you could definitely play him. You're a smart guy,
I'm
but
playing him, for sure. Can I ask, is from a design standpoint, why do some of the cards not have resources on them?
it's more just some of these it might be a fluke. Yeah, so I've actually fixed this, and I guess I haven't uploaded the fixed versions.
Oh, okay. So some of them are meant to, but some of them aren't meant to. Like your preparation cards.
Yeah, so when I'm designing, you'll notice these up here do not.
Yes, of
That's
course.
intentional
Yeah. Yeah.
because they just start in play. They're never going to be in your hand. They're never going to be spent.
Yes.
So, well, actually, in theory, one or two of them could be in your hand, but they won't be spent.
Yes.
So, what happened was, I made. I'm lazy, so I make an upgrade with the headshot and the correct colors,
Yep.
and then I just, modify it for the next card
Is
and
that-
save under
Is
a
that
file
classed as
name.
lazy? Because I thought everybody did that. I did the same thing.
Yeah, well, once lazy becomes the popular method, then and only then is it efficiency.
It's
Efficiency.
definitely
instead of-
efficiency. I make a support, an upgrade, an
Yeah.
event, and then I just copy and paste as I go.
There you go.
Yeah.
But point is, I forgot to reactivate the resource icon on some of these
Ah, gotcha. There you
before I saved and exported. Yep, it's just an oversight.
go. Okay.
Just me trying
cool.
to get it on
I
the
thought it was a
table.
cool design thing. I didn't mean to bring it up. I didn't realize it was just that.
No,
I was
I'm
like,
just dumb.
I thought it was amazing. All right, so we'll get once I get the updated version and the pre-con that you're going to make for me. That's going to be good. I also want to talk about these ones down here, the Arkham Horror ones. So you're a fan of the Arkham Horror LCG?
I've never played it.
Oh, what?
I played the board game and really enjoyed
Oh,
it.
I see.
So I
Right.
have some understanding of what's going on, but this is another one where somebody said, I don't think that would translate too well, and I said bet, and I made it, and
Nice.
they were correct. It was difficult, which is why you could rename this from alpha status to the reject pile for the most part.
You've actually got a bag.
other
You
than-
got a
other than
bag
the
down here
scenario.
called something like rejects, retired characters, Nightcrawler,
Yeah.
because God knows we've got enough of those, and Iceman. Are they retired because there's official versions, or you just don't like them?
Yes, because official versions came out. These were both fairly well ironed out, but Iceman especially was he worked very well, fired on all cylinders. But once the official version comes out, I just stow him away and never look at him again.
Oh, but what if yours is
But
what if yours is better than the official version?
well, then you can just play Ice up here because Ice is basically reskinned Iceman, but
Ah,
better.
cool.
I tuned her a little more,
Okay.
and
It all comes back to the
yeah,
DC ones. Your love for them
yeah.
is apparent.
Well, that's part of the reason they're better, probably, is because Ice started out as Iceman, and I refined her and tuned her to fit Ice a little better
Yep.
than Iceman, obviously.
Yep.
And Amethyst started out as Nightcrawler and went through a massive uh, and
Cool.
Zealot started out as Shatterstar. So the
Oh,
only one that's really their own character is Grifter. But
right.
yeah,
You also got some more Valiant characters hidden down here. Exo Man of War, awesome. And Archer and Armstrong. I'm a big fan of Archer and Armstrong. I actually interviewed Fred Van Lente at Comic Con. He
nice.
is a cool dude. I love him a lot. He's like, why?
I
He's like,
bet.
why are you interviewing me? I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm like, are you serious? You're a champion. Yeah, it's great. Cool. All right. Now, while I was looking at the Valiant characters down here, I noticed some Renegade cards. Let's go back up to the top of the table.
All right.
You were. I don't know what word to use. It's either silly, or brave. We'll go with either of those two to create your own aspect. There's
Sort of. Yeah.
a couple of creators have made their own aspect. It just impresses me so much that because the amount of time and effort it would take to do this, it just boggles my mind. So you have made the renegade aspect. Can you tell us a
Well,
bit about it?
sure. The first thing to clear up is that I did not make it myself, or not on my own.
Okay.
I had the idea in mind, and I was like, "This is too much. I cannot do
It's
this by myself."
crazy amount of work.
And I was,
Yep.
yeah, and I was talking with Noob Song, and they were big into the visual design of the cards and things, and I was more into the mechanics. And we decided to work on it together. So the very first iteration, all of uh, the card design for changing up the color and everything else. Most of the images, he did all of that.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
the text boxes, me for the most part. I mean, he helped a little with some of those. I helped finding a couple of art, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I did my end and he did his, and they turned out pretty well. But it went through a revamp because it just was never quite sitting right the way the first version was, and so now it's actually technically not an aspect. There's just not another good word for it, but in the same sense that basic is not an aspect. So this is an alternative to basic. So you have to choose which one you want to use. So you still use
Oh,
aggression or justice or whatever,
right.
but then you'll choose renegade over basic.
Okay.
And
Do all
the
the custom aspects make that distinction? Is that the same thing for determination and stuff? Probably a better question for
uh,
Max.
no, determination is an actual
It's an actual
aspect.
aspect. Okay, cool. So
Yeah, it's
what made
just
you decide to do the replacement of basic instead of making it the fifth aspect, or maybe the sixth because of pool?
it seemed like it just seemed like a better design space once I started looking at it. And part of it was because um, when I started designing it, one of the things that we set forth in the beginning was uh, there were certain parts of it that were philosophically similar to determination. So we spoke with hacks and want to make sure we're not stepping on any toes or anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
it's very clearly its own thing. It does other directions, but um, there was always going to be a little bit of overlap, maybe with a couple of the ally choices, things like that.
Yep.
And then Pool came out, and then there was a lot of overlap,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man,
Bloody
okay,
pool. It's the worst.
yeah.
I hate it so much.
and a lot of that had to do with like you know, being able to benefit from different icons on the field that normally are a detriment to you, like crisis icons or acceleration, that type of thing. So,
Yep.
but then, when I was reevaluating it, what? Looking at this and thinking about it, it can actually, I think this adjustment will help, set it apart more and have it be function better as its own identity and really fill a better design space.
Mm.
And because one of the things that I kept struggling with was they just keep adding ways to boost stats to basic, which to me is kind of wild. Like that should be a more trait locked thing
Yes.
to me.
Right. Yep. Yep.
You should see more of those injustice and aggression and protection, but no, they keep adding them to basic, and I was like, man, once you start stacking the what I think are fun creative cards that I want to make with stat boosts with the ones in basic, like they can get pretty crazy, and that's hard to balance. That's no fun. I was like, or I could just make it where you can't run both, and then we're back to square one, and I
Nice.
can
Yeah.
have a lot more lateral movement. So that really opened things up a lot.
One of the things that I like about it is you've got a bunch of keywords and traits that you've invented for it, which is cool. Which grudge. I really like the concept of grudge. It really matches what Renegade is. Like, so Hela costs more to play if you've got Asgard people in play, right? Is that how it works? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. Nobody wants Hela around. Yeah. Exodus. I mean, if you've got the X-Men, they're like, well, we don't want Exodus flying around. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. And that's part of the fun of the balance of it too, right? Because you make it so that they actually work better with some of the X-Men in general. There are obviously several psionic mutants, and so you're going to get some more value out of that. Well, you're going to have to pay a little more to get that value at least. So I thank you. I'm glad that you called that one out because that is probably one of my favorites because that's
I love it.
one of the best instances of being able to marry theme and mechanic.
Yeah.
That I'm more proud of.
Are you gonna have to come back and do Doctor Doom when the Fantasy Four box comes out? Give him Grudge Fantasy Four. It's gonna be cool. That's coming out. I'm telling you. I predicted it. I'm telling you, it's coming.
I'm sure.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about your server sort of stuff. So, like we joked at the start about the being the CEO. But you're essentially the head mod, right? Like Unicorn is the admin. You're sort of more like more the head mod, and the amount of work that you have done for this server is just amazing. I don't know how you find the time, and like having to learn sort of the pros and cons of Discord, and there's plenty of cons, but trying to like make it all work, and you essentially have redesigned the Discord so that it's actually better and easier to use and stuff. Why did you do what you did, and how much work was it really in the end?
So let's see. As far as actual work, a lot of it wasn't too bad. It was just there are a lot of I don't want to call them intricacies. There are a lot of quirks in Discord, and it can be easy to trip yourself up. So one of the things, trying to get the archaeologist role to work the way it was intended to, for example, was actually not that hard, but I had to redo it about 4 times, which involved going in every single creator channel that existed.
Wow.
One at a time.
Is that how you did it? Because when you first created it, there were some ones that didn't show up, and nobody could understand why. And then you were like, "Yeah, I'll fix it." Then, like the next day, it's done, and I'm like, "Okay, cool."
The short explanation is there is a quick way to copy permissions all throughout a channel if you do it on the front end of creating that channel.
Right.
But since that didn't happen, that's I'm not that obviously it shouldn't have happened. I'm just saying since that's we weren't creating new channels, we were adjusting them.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work, and you would think that there would be just another button that was just like apply to all exist,
Yeah.
but no,
No, of course
it
not.
does not. No. So
Discord is a powerful thing, but man, it's got some weird things.
yeah, so basically, I just didn't quite get it right each time, and so I wound up, having to redo it, and that's really where most of the work was just me being not as competent as I'd like. But hey, we got it done. But as far as like why we did it, or why, I guess I manually did most of it, but it was more because the Discord has existed for a while, right? But I don't think there was never necessarily like an end goal for the server, or like it just grew. It grew exponentially and organically over time, right? So it started as a small thing, a good resource for small group of people that kept growing and growing and growing. And so a lot of decisions that made perfect sense all throughout that process, as they compound on each other, it starts to bloat a lot, and that's natural in any system. So, it just it's options like where do I start, and you would just see so many new people come in being like, "This is cool, but I have no idea what's going on." So, we after you see that enough times, you just think, okay, maybe we can find a way to streamline that.
Yep.
So, we took some time and did some polls with different people, and some there are going to be a number of people that remember it because they were there. Other people may still not even know it happened, but for probably 6 months or more, even before the revamp, there was basically a test version that was hidden away, being worked on to try to get an idea of, okay, well, this works. Okay, maybe this isn't really neat. Trying to get that new framework in place. And I'm sure there'll still be some other adjustments as we go. Even now, I'm starting to see, okay, maybe this channel would work better in a different format. But, we'll learn as we go, and we'll keep adapting.
Is it alright for me to show it, do you think?
Show
The
what?
actual Discord itself.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't see a reason why not.
I've always hesitated because I don't know about I don't know, like the privacy aspect and stuff, but it's got all your usernames. Like, it's not your actual real names.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
All right, I'm gonna show it. It's such an impressive amount of work. I mean, how many YouTube videos did you watch to do this? Right. I hope people can actually. I've just changed it so the visual is the Discord, but now I'm not convinced that they're actually able to hear you. So I'm gonna add that really quick, just in case they can't actually hear you. Yeah. They were able to hear you before. I'm worried if I change back to hopefully they can hear you, and if they can't, that's right. So if you can't hear what Karmi is saying, they gave me permission Please confirm. They confirmed for me that I was able to show the Discord. So right now I'm showing the Discord, just to give you an idea. I'm on the announcements page, and this is basically just what I'm talking about. So the new content here is, basically just how things are now work more like a message board type thing, which people are sort of used to seeing. So you got the creator headquarters where we say who we are and what we do, and then you post your heroes in the hero section and scenarios in the modular section and so on and so forth. Oh, I've got a quick request while I've got you. When you post a hero, it forces you to choose a tag, but when you post in a scenario, it doesn't. And I've stuffed that up like twice, so if you can do that, it should force you to select a tag. That'd be great. And then you that's right. And then you got like community events, like the current community event is Valentine's Day, where people like get together and like create stuff and stuff. So this is and you got like chat rooms and all this other stuff. So I'm gonna change the visual back now to your TTS because now I'm now paranoid that nobody can hear you. So now they can hear you, and we're back to your TTS now. So that'll basically just give you an idea. I mention the Discord every single episode, and I've never actually shown it because I was a bit.
We appreciate it.
I was a bit funny about it.
You've done a lot to help, bring awareness to the community, drive it. So I know, everyone in it definitely appreciates you and what you've brought to the table.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm doing what I can for the community that I love, and I just think I think we deserve more love. Like you said at the start, there's just some creators that deserve a little bit more attention, and I want to bring. I know for a fact this is the thing that spurred this on was because I know some people online who have made Marvel Champions custom content and are not part of the community. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what? This community exists, right? Like, I talk about it every episode. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know, I'm just a bit... they've always got some excuse, and that's fine. I mean, they're just a bit nervous about it, or they don't want to put themselves out there. And that's totally fine. I get that, right? Sometimes
me too.
People are a bit shy. I get it. And the thing is, I want to break down that barrier. There's no need to be shy. It's just no one's going to... Well, that's not true. People are going to judge you, but not in a horrible way. Just introduce yourself, say hi. We just got a new person now who's just shown up now. Crossra. Amazing. Like, just showed up and said, oh, I didn't want to come in until now. And they've come in and they've done an amazing amount of custom work for the Alligator Loki hero. Just out of the blue, because they love the Alligator Loki hero for Ripper. And that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. So I know there's people out there that have got ideas and and want to like be creative and stuff, and are a bit nervous about it. And my message is you don't need to be nervous. You've got people like Karmi who will come and help you. I mentioned it earlier with Mary Marvel. I can't thank you enough. I really can't. The amount of time and patience that you had with me was just amazing. It was just amazing, and Mary was interesting, and then I got some reactions from the CAS process that I was not pleased about, and you very calmly sort of took that on board, and it's like, this is, well, they've said this because of this, and I've got some ideas for you. Are you open to it? And I'm like, yep, sure. As long as they're respectful, because I was very angry at the time, and you were like, no, it's all good, and so like we discussed it through, and you put it through, and it just blew me away. It just blew me away, just how helpful you were, and she's now she's amazing, and it's awesome. And you do that for everybody. It's not just me. You do that everybody you're in contact with, and we've played a few games together and stuff, and it's always fun. The birth of Wildcat, like I said, it was just, yeah. And that time we were playing, and you had to like leave the table for a bit, and we took over your character for you, and you came back, yeah. and you had won the game.
It's like, I don't even have to be there. That's how good I am.
You didn't have to be there. Yeah, it was just amazing. Yeah, so that's what. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's my message. Right. People like Karmi exist. Come and share your stuff, and people will help you out and stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. I do try. I can get, look, it's it's art, and it difficult at times because like you said, you're putting a little piece of yourself out there when you
Hmm.
things. Ask for other people to give you feedback on it, and I'm human too.
Hmm.
You I try to always take feedback well, and sometimes it gets to me too. And one of the things that I would take a second to stress here, because I try to everywhere when I can, is
Yep.
try to remember, when we're in the that um, it is very much a worldwide community,
Yes.
and while the majority of the discussions and conversations, things we have are in English, because that was the primary language of the people who initially created it. You know, it's not the first language for.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm not going to say most of the community, but a whole lot of people. It is not the first language, and even beyond that, there are so many diverse cultures and so many obviously differences between them, and
Hmm.
even just how um, how you converse with people in everyday life can be pretty significantly different from culture to culture. So it's always something you have to try to keep in the back of your mind. Because there are some people. My first interaction or two with them, I was like, "Oh man, you were harsh, guy." Like,
Hmm.
and it wasn't that at all. They're great people. The more you meet people and talk with them in person and play some games with them and get to know them, you realize no, it's just you sound much more. You're just a matter of fact person, and when you translate that into a second language, it can come across that way. But that's not how they intended it,
Hmm. Yep.
So it's patience and empathy are important in life in general, but especially in the Discord. I feel like when you add that on top of the feedback process,
Yeah.
it can be very easy
Yep.
um, to take things more harshly than it's intended.
Yep.
And I'm not saying people can't be a little harsh sometimes, but um, there's uh, nobody in the server that's malicious and wants to make you feel bad. And if they show up, they will not be around for long.
Yeah.
So
Because they become very obvious that that's their agenda. Like it's trolls are
yeah,
very obvious to spot.
yeah. So don't be afraid
Hmm.
to share and to open up with your designs and your ideas, and always, you know, just look to have those conversations with people. That would be my advice.
Yep.
Um,
That's perfect. That's perfect wisdom. It's treat treat others as you want to be treated yourself, and that works in real life, and in the Discord, and especially in the Discord because, like you said, it's if it's just in text, it's very hard to mistranslate what the intention is. Right, context and tone is pretty hard in text
mhm.
unless you're like a master writer, and um, once you have a conversation with them, it's a whole different world, sort of stuff, and yeah, I just the feedback that I got when I had my submissions in there, some of it it made me a bit upset. I'm not going to lie, but at no point did I think it was malicious at all. No, and I think that's the beauty of it. So
Yeah.
we're such a diverse group, and we get along. And if there's an issue, then people like yourself then step in and take care of it. It's only happened once in the entire time I've been here. I know there was a couple of things before I arrived, but when I arrived, there's only been one instance where it's kind of like, oh, it's a bit iffy, and you stepped in and you sort of took care of it. That's what you do.
As
Uh,
did the other mods, who I would say also just handled it better than I did. But and that's you talk about tone and things getting lost, and times there can be even just lack of information can get in the way.
hmm,
sometimes I just don't know everything I wish I knew in the world.
Okay.
Try to learn every day, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I've got some breaking news. This well, won't mean anything when people are watching this later, but it's relevant to you. While we were
Okay.
talking, Unicorn got back to me. We're booked in
Nice.
for March. So
That's awesome.
yeah, really excited. Also, ES said hi.
Hello.
During our chat. So that was all good. So yeah, so Unicorn. Oh, really excited for that. Really excited.
Yeah,
Cool.
me too. That's gonna be a great one.
Yeah. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want? Oh no, actually, there is one thing. In the top right hand corner
Okay.
here, this goes back to how we were talking about like we're a worldwide community, right? Well, I want to touch on that. And sometimes English is not their first language. One of the things that really impresses me, and I think is just a really just a, just a sign of respect and for your creations, I think, is when somebody wants to translate it into a different language so that they can then play it with their group of friends. And you've got two of those. Someone's translated Sage and Black Knight for you into what I think is Spanish.
Uh,
I don't.
yeah, it's
It's
Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that Spanish or French? That's just so cool. That is so cool that somebody actually reached out and said, "Hey, can I translate these?"
Yeah,
Great.
I love that, and it caught me off guard the first time it happened. I was not expecting that at all. And um, we have, I think it would be okay to call them kind of a sister server.
Right.
Uh, if you're not familiar with it, it's called the Triskelion, I believe.
Cool.
But I think it's basically our server, but primarily in Spanish.
Wow.
And so they do a lot of these things and do a lot of translating too. So they're
Cool.
pretty awesome. And so one of their members, make sure, right? Let me look down here.
Don't stuff this up. It's recorded.
Yeah, it's Lewis. It's Lewis Fay, or maybe
Oh,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be Lewis Iron. I
Right.
don't know.
Okay.
FE, but uh, they uh, they reached out to me and did that, and I think someone else has as well, but I don't think they've returned it. But anytime they get those translations to me, I like to try to add them to the table
That's great.
because you never know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of proud that they exist.
Yeah. That's so cool. I think it's a real honor. Someone took the time, and I didn't even know the Triskelion existed. So there you go. And there's another Discord, the Triskelion. So if you're a Spanish speaker, go check it out for sure. It's very cool.
Most definitely.
Yeah, actually, a custom project that I had before Marvel Champions was Trek of the Rings, where I converted the Lord of the Rings LCG into Star Trek, and somebody translated that entire thing. That's like over 1,000 cards into Spanish, and I was just like,
Oh wow.
this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. That's like unbelievably cool. All right, so back to it. Before I interrupted you, was there anything that we didn't mention that you would like to bring up?
Oh, let's see. I guess as far as the Discord, I would say that I'm just really grateful to all of the members who have stepped up to try to help with the various roles in the new structure,
Cool.
because that takes a lot of the stress off of the mods and really helps make the new system work.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about, Discord's a little quirky, so everything's pros and cons, and they're really helping with over those cons. And so I'm grateful to that, but also, please always everyone keep an eye on the announcements and the events page, because we're going to try to keep making further improvements.
Cool.
So now that we've kind of tried to streamline what we had, we're gonna look toward trying to carefully, maybe introducing some new additional components that can benefit everybody. So keep an eye out for those. As far as things we talked about earlier, I'd say that one thing I definitely want to make sure I'm not uh, not remiss on is the fact that I told you that Noob Song helped me with the initial wave of Renegade
Mhm.
and continued working on it with me for a while, but obviously he had to kind of retire from that. So Man 3 has helped a ton, a lot of the new adjustments.
You call him Man 3
And
as well. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and honestly, with a lot of the things I've done, he's now a lot of people have helped me through time in the art request channel, and I am grateful to all of
Yeah.
them as well.
Yeah.
I'm just calling him out specifically because we've worked hand in hand on a lot of things lately,
Yep.
and you can really tell the difference in how commonplace some of my previous cards look versus some of the newer ones that he's had a hand in.
Mm.
So they always he just has a good sense of style, and he's taking good care of me on that front. So um, thank you to him. And I mentioned ES earlier, helped started, and there have been multiple others. McBower.
Mm.
He and I go back and forth sometimes because he never ceases to to tell me what he thinks about my aesthetic eye sometimes. But the truth is that I always appreciate that because it helps push me on things that are not my focus. I'm all mechanics all the way, and
Yep. Same.
um, and he has other good feedback, but that's one thing we definitely have traded some thoughts back and forth. But everybody in the server, and obviously Viral has been just crucial in
Yeah.
everything as a sounding board. Well, okay, as a sounding board, trying to make sure trying to get everything tweaked and working right. Um,
Feral's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of these things would not look as polished as they do without their help. So those three in particular, I gotta shout out to. So,
Cool.
but I think that's pretty much it. Other than give Valiant Comics a try, I guess if I'm gonna plug
Yes.
something, I love Valiant Comics, and there are about 12 of them. Now that I'm trying to kind of go back to finishing some projects I had, there there are 12 of them that I'm trying to get done. So those are kind of my babies at this point. I love everything else, but those are my personal babies.
Anything written by Fred Van Lente, read it. That's
There
great.
you go.
He's a cool dude. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, Kami. I really appreciate it. And again,
Thank you.
for all that you do. I think it's amazing. We've got to get another game in at some point. That'd be great.
All the games.
Yeah, all the games. Time zones suck, man. During my mad obsession times, every now and again, I go through sort of a creative bursts, and I was like, I should just move to the States, man. I'm so tired of this, but I'm not. No. I'm staying in Australia. But
I'm kind of sad I revealed. I mean, I do all the time those things, but I feel like my time zone might have been hard for some people to guess because I get insomnia a lot. So I'm on. There is no
Yeah.
hour of the day that I have not been on at some
I
point.
know.
On the Discord. So
I've seen you on at 3 a.m. your time. And I was like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, this is weird. What's this about? So
yeah, there are times I've just not even gone to sleep until like 8 or 9 a.m. Another person I'll shout out, I've played a ton of games with them, and they helped me with so much testing and things. But Jack, who's started showing back up in the
yes,
server, so
it's making a comeback. Yeah,
they can attest to the fact that there have been a number of games where I'm just like holding on by a thread, and they're just trying to get the game finished because he's in, I want to say, China, Hong Kong, something like that. So
yeah.
our time zones are obviously different, and I'd be playing at 8 a.m. We're trying to wrap up a game, and I've never been to bed. So point is, you just let me know, and we'll set up a game. The only factor for me is my work schedule, which changes all the time. So
You got to look after yourself, better. There was a time in one of the games where you fell asleep at the computer.
no, never happened.
I
It
felt
was
so,
all
I
a
felt
ploy.
so
I was
bad
trying
for
to
you.
lure the villain into
That's
a false sense of security.
that was no. Obviously, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It was just it was your trick just to
Yep.
just convert us.
Hmm.
Oh,
Definitely.
I felt so bad for you. Cool. All right, sweet. This has been awesome. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do all the usual stuff: like, subscribe, comment, say hi to Karmi, and then come into the Discord, introduce yourself. There'll be a link to an invite to join the Discord in the description, as always, as also some links to Karmi's work, G Drive and TTS. But yeah, thank you very much again, and as always, the most important thing is make sure that you love yourself and to tell the people that you love them as often as you can. It's most important than anything. Take care, everybody. Bye.